Alright fellas, here back in our Pokemon Masters video for a overview of how Terastalization actually works in Pokemon Masters, at least from what we know right now. Okay, let me actually check, make sure I've got all the characters. Okay, yes, we do have Datamine pairs. So, okay, we know that Carmine is our first ever Terastalized character. She brought Terastalization with a Terra type of grass. Do we actually? Yeah, we don't really see that. Do we actually see that with Kieran? Basically, his Pokemon tools actually told us. Has it updated its UI? No. Okay, so well, I guess it also is fair that Kieran's just fighting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So go back to Terastalization, or well, Carmine for our biggest look at Terastalization. So Terastalization fundamentally does not change a character's base abilities really at all, for the most part. At the very least, for these two first Terastalized pairs, because they all debut with Terastalization. We don't know. This is not always going to be the case, I would imagine. It could be. I mean, they could just keep releasing Terastalized characters that Terastalize at the beginning of battle, but they could also make it have conditions. Like, the first time the user drops to 50% or below HP in a battle, Terastalizes. Or the first time a user knocks out an opponent, oh, please don't do that one. That'd be dog shit. Or like, the first time a user faints in battle, or the first time a user uses a status condition, you know, stuff like that. Like, they could introduce new ways for characters to Terastalize. But for right now, the first pass that these characters have is debut, type S-Terra. The user sync Terastalizes into their type the first time it enters a battle each battle. This works the same way for both Carmine and for Kieran. It is the same way. And again, that we do not know if that will ever change. The user's stats are not changed by Terastalization. Again, at least not yet. There's nothing to say that it can't in the future, but it's unlikely. So Carmine and Kieran's stats do not change anytime they Terastalize. What does change with Terastalization is two things. One, Machagacha for Carmine gets a 50% increase in power. About 50%. This is a buff that is not applied to sync moves or their second new ability, their Terra Blast move. And there's a few, well, I guess they get three things. They also get a passive, but let's go these one at a time. So, Machagacha's power increase. Since Carmine Terastalizes off rip, you're never going to see this lower powered Machagacha in play. But if we ever do get another character with, you know, the same conditions but they Terastalize in a different way, we could actually see Machagacha with this lower power, or just a character that doesn't have Machagacha, right? But Carmine will immediately Terastalize, and it becomes a 168 power move that hits all enemies. Its effects do not change, none of that, but it does get stronger. It does not use any gauge. Think about Hit the Gas 5, but just for Machagacha, right? The sync move does not increase in power. There's two ways this could work. The sync move either does not increase in power because it is Terra Blast, or the sync move does not increase in power at all. I'm thinking it's the latter, but it does not. I wouldn't say it's exactly set in stone. But let's also keep in mind, in the news, they did say it powers up moves, not sync moves. So there's a good chance that it's only going to power up moves like Machagacha or whatever type the user is. Or if we go to Kieran's case, none at all. Think about that. So we see the Terastalization of Carmine. You can see that her sync move does not get any base power increase, and that is how you know that's how you know what Terastalization is affecting. Terastalization does not work as a raw 50% multiplier of your same type moves, sync moves, and whatever. It only acts as a power buff to your moves, and you will see that power buff. It is not like Grassy Terrain where it's a hidden multiplier that you know is up because you have Grassy Terrain up. You see the direct power increase. Like if you do not have Carmine Terastalized, or like you view her in like the stat screen or something like that, you're going to see 112 power Machagacha. You change it to Terastalized Carmine, or like look at her in battle, it's going to be 168. You know that Carmine has this 50% buff because it says it in her passive here, or in her ability here, and this is what the buff is. So there's not an extra 50% on top of this 168, at least not coming for Terastalization. Obviously, she can still get buffs like this passive ability here with the burned opponent team support and the Grassy Terrain and rebuff and crit strike 2, as like everything like that, right? She can still get buffs by damage that way. But anyway. Again, other abilities, she's got her sync move, which is not increased by any power from being Terastalized, and she has her Emerald Terra Blast Terra move, which will pop up on the screen. I'm not going to pull up a screenshot, but if you have Carmine, you know where it pops up. It's at the bottom of the screen where the trainer's icon on a Pokemon usually is. Weird placement for it, but sure, I guess. Yeah, so it'll be there. You can tap it like you would any other move. And Carmine's is one use only, and it has 100 accuracy, 480 power, guaranteed crits, turns field to playing grassy terrain, boosts up moves on next. It basically acts as a buddy move for the most part. Carmine actually does not have any buddy moves because I'm going to assume it's just because she is the first character to debut with terastalizing, and they wanted to like make that the big focus. So they gave her just this Terra Blast to kind of act as a quote buddy move, right? And so this is what she gains. Again, this does not have any extra 50% power buffs from her being terastalized. This comes at a raw 480 power. Because you would know that because it doesn't show up anything here, but it only pops up after terastalizing. This is the raw power. It's not going to get any extra buffs from this. It'll get buffs from grassy terrain multiplier, stuff like that. It's going to get, I would imagine, I actually could be wrong about that. I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure it would get supportive abilities from this. That's actually something to test. I'm pretty sure it gets abilities from this. I made this video. I was like, I know how Terastalization works, but now I'm thinking about it. I actually do not know if this buffs this because it's not a regular move. It's a sync Terra move, right? But it could also be. I don't know. Whatever. I'm gonna assume it gets the buff though. Either way, it is buffed in things like grassy terrain and by grass rebuff and the like. And it should be buffed by Crit Strike 2 because Crit Strike 2 counts attacks, which is everything. Your moves, your max moves, your sync moves, stuff like that. Anyway, so she does gain this on Terastalization as well. Again, no extra power buff coming into this. And when she Terastalizes, her debut Grass Sync Terra passive does not, it changes to this. Kitakami Hospitality. This is an extra passive slot for the character or just a way for them to substitute a passive slot. Think about like, let me pull them up. Champion Brendan and May, how they've got the Blue Power Awakening passive and immediately go into their Primal Reversion, which then in this case gives like EX Rain, special attack buffs, Sync Countdown, whatever else, right? This is pretty much what Carmine gains, something similar. She gains a passive that does different abilities. So I guess the best way to actually look at it is pretty much Primal Reversion. I mean, at least in the current case, how they do Sync Terra on entry. And this, of course, is giving her some extra good supportive abilities. I mean, this is an amazing passive right here, but it's nothing crazy to, like, say, oh my gosh, Terastalization gives you an extra passive. No, it just kind of substitutes the passive, right? So, yeah, that is the big gist of how Terastalization works, at least with Carmine. It only powers up her Machigacha, not her Sync move or her Terra Blast. She does gain access to that Terra Blast move, right? That's that's what she gets. And she gains this passive, which... obviously, if she didn't have Terastalization at all, she would have probably had this passive just straight up on entry, right? So this is not really a massive impact from having Terastalization, right? Other than that, Terastalization does not really affect a character's kit too much, at least not Carmine's. I mean, you can see she doesn't really gain any crazy effects off of using Terra Blast other than what it already says here and the damage. She doesn't have any special abilities based off of it, but if she did, it would be the same as if any move had that ability, right? Like if it said, oh, when you use Emerald Terra Blast, recharges gauge by 6 or something like that. They could have put that on Machigacha, same effect. I mean, so it just works as a regular move. That's the big point there. Kieran is slightly different in the sense that he does not have any power buffs like Carmine does. So, as we can see, Kieran has the same debut fighting Sync Terra passive, but he does not have any fighting moves other than his Sync move, and when he Terastalizes, he's got his Topaz Terra Blast Terra move. This means that Kieran, and this has been controversial to some people, what the hell, why am I having a stroke? This means that Kieran does not gain any direct power buff from Terastalization. He simply gains access to this buddy move, and a passive that he probably would have had on entry anyway. The big thing to me with Kieran being... again, people want to like say this is bad or whatever because he doesn't get like anything massive out of this. It's like, yeah, he's still a good character though. I mean, whatever. But to me, the biggest impact of Kieran, even a character that does not gain a direct power buff on any of these moves, or these moves, right? My big thing is that he is the fighting type. This means that this is... could you say it's great for Kieran? I mean... fighting needs the help, I think, at least in terms of their fighting zone. But also Dragon could have needed the help at the same time. So if Kieran was actually Dragon, I have something on my pop filter. Blah. It would have been good, obviously, if Dragon actually got a similar buff as well. But I think it's fine for him to have been fighting. And I think this will be a good impact on future characters, not necessarily like, obviously Kieran may be a bad example, but there are other characters in the future that are going to be completely different Terra types that are going to be good and going to be good for different types. And they can do think about doing whatever Pokemon they want in a sense. And we'll go over that in a little bit. But with Kieran being a fighting Terra type, Breaking Swipe gains no buffs. His buddy Sunny Day does not gain any buffs. He does actually have a buddy move, by the way, on top of the Terra moves. So, you know, unlike Carmine, they did opt to give him a buddy move as well. And I'm not going to go too much into his kit right now just because don't really need to. We'll do that in the overview video for him. But the main thing with him is that his Terra Blast move is spammable. This is a move he can use anytime he wants. It does some debuffing, and it also power moves not lower than multiple targets. But he also has this, which is basically a 50% chance for double the power and also double the debuffs. So this move can go from 180 power non-split AoE to 360 non-split AoE at a 50% chance. You'll probably see the difference, right? For sure. And of course, also his sync move is going to be fighting type as well. And again, he did gain this passive here as well, setting Fighting Zone on Sunny Day, as well as buffing team physical and special moves on next and stuff like that whenever Weather Train Zone's set, you know, whatever else, right? So Kieran, again, while he doesn't gain any direct power buffs on any of his moves from the fighting Terastalization, he does gain the fighting type itself, meaning he can actually help the fighting type. And of course, he's actually got this Terra move to actually work as a fighting move. Some people are going to say, oh, they could have just given him this fighting move anyway, you know, didn't really need to do the Terastalization, whatever. Fair, I suppose, but he still does work with the gimmick pretty well. The fact that it just still introduces the Terastalization to begin with, and the fact you can Terastalize in completely different types, and it'll make it better for future pairs. Kieran might not be a great example right now, but we're gonna get future ones. Like, for example, let's just go ahead and go with, I think, a pretty big one that we might see a similar case for, Nemona. I think there's a good chance. Actually, we'll just go to Paldea, honestly. Paldea is a better example. We've got a lot of arc suits, and clearly they're spamming the damn things. I think we're sooner or later going to start getting arc suits of Paldean characters, and we could see it for these earlier ones. Gita's a big one. Penny's a pretty big one, I think. Nemona's a big one. I think these characters, at least, could be have very good shots of getting like arc suits and stuff. And Nemona, I believe, at least in the anime, I'm not sure how it goes for the games. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure she also just Terastalizes her starter, but like if they want to do something with Nemona's Terra type Palmot, they could give it the fighting Terra type, which kind of sucks because Kieran's already fighting type, but she could be like a fighting arc suit, right? Of course, we can obviously have multiple arc suits, so you know we can still give the fighting type to whoever else as well. But if we want to look at Nemona, she could be a fighting type arc suit because she can Terastalize. And I think that could be very, very good, right? We could have the fighting arc suit this way. She's not like double dipping into electric all this much whenever we're going to already have a crap load of OP electric characters. She's going to be able to help out the fighting type instead of having to help out the electric type. Obviously, she's going to lose synergy with herself, but get over it. I mean, who cares, right? So I think in a case like that, it could be good. Gita, I think it'd be good if she just Terastalizes into poison. I don't think she needs to really change types, but if she wanted to, she could Terra Rock, become a rock type, or something like that, and be a rock type sync pair. Granted, could have already done that because it's already half rock, but again, they could also just do whatever the fuck Terra type. What Terra type is her Glamora? I don't actually know. Yeah, so okay, it is a rock type. And if we want to go a little bit more double on this, if we want to give like a Signasuit Gita or like a new Gita alt or something, we could give her this King Gambit and make it Terra Flying, and we've got ourselves a flying King Gambit. This is what I really am going to like about Terastalization in this game, is that we can actually give these characters, it doesn't have to just be Paldea either, we can go to random characters and just give them Terastalization because, you know, what's going to happen. We gave random characters that were not from X and Y Mega Evolution. We gave random characters, did we give random characters the moves? I actually don't think we did, but, you know, Terastalization is a very big mechanic, and they can just give it to pretty much whoever they want. Let's go to another example, Penny. What is Penny's Terra type? Fairy, so she could just be fairy again, but you know, if they really wanted to, they could also end up changing that. I mean, they could do literally whatever they want for characters like this. And this is just arc suits. Again, we want to go to a future character. Imagine they drop another character like, I mean, friggin' Big Daddy, you know, where is he at? Big Daddy Charizard, all right? You know, they could do red, but Charizard, more importantly, is my focus here. Like, they could drop another Charizard. It should be Mega Charizard Y. Let's get that out of the way. It fucking should be Charizard Y. My god, it's been way too long. But if they want to do another big Charizard, they don't have to do a fire-type Charizard. I'm saying Charizard a lot, man. Okay. But fire is already very, very strong with its core. I mean, you've got Champion Leaf, you've got Arc Leon. I mean, Signasuit Red's made a pretty big comeback as like a damage dealer or whatever. And obviously Silver is like the support. Fire's not really needing any massive help in terms of anything. You know what types do need help? Normal, rock. Dark could use some buffs, poison, bug. You know, if we want to get this Charizard out here, give him Terra Blast and make him like, I don't know, go random on the friggin' wheel. Make him a special ground type Charizard or something. Physical ground does not need help, but if we want to think about like the Paseo Tower and stuff like that, if you want to beat those ground floors, you're going to need a better special damage dealer than fucking Naomi and Rika, Lodrika. That's not Lodrika, that's Lodrika. But like, if you want a better special damage dealer than those, let's get ourselves a Dark Charizard in here or something like that. And give it a special Terra Blast, and there you go. You know, if they want to release these hype, cool Pokemon or whatever, and like make them fresh and actually helpful to the game instead of just being Fire type for the 30th time, we can get ourselves a Ground type, a Fairy type, a Ghost type, a Dark type, a Rock type, a Normal type Charizard. That's also good. This let's also mention this is going to be good for either normal Pokemon or just the normal type in general, because now we can get Pokemon that can Terra Normal if we want to. The Pokemon that can Terra Normal and help out the normal type and still be cool and hyper and whatever. Or we can get Pokemon that are normal type that can then Terra outside of the normal type. A big one I think would be Eevee, because they're going to probably drop more Eevee related characters or whatever. I would imagine so. Snorlax maybe, whatever. And we could get ourselves an Eevee that is like bug type or something. A big Eevee bug type that could maybe like set bug zones, stuff like that, help out the team. Just as an example, and maybe like a support as well, and it could be really good. So if they're going to be continuing to drop these Pokemon that maybe they don't want them to help a specific team, or maybe they just want to release the Pokemon that people like to see, like friggin' Pikachu, Eevee, Charizard, you know, Mewtwo, Rayquaza, everything like that, they can now terastallize them into a type so they can actually help out that type. Obviously, I think it's better for us to get a variety of Pokemon and stuff like that, but if they're going to keep doing it like this, having terastallization in the game to actually help out these types is far, far better. And even still, if we want to take a Pokemon that's like not really gotten much good representation in the game or anything like that, I mean, let me just pull up a Pokemon that is just not in the game and should be probably by now. I got a little bit of bias on this one, but Meanshao. I love this Pokemon, bruh, and it's got no rep. We've gotten rep in like a damage challenge opponent. Come on, man. And, you know, again, with us getting Kieran as a fighting type, and there could be, you know, the chance of potentially Arcnemona probably being fighting type, I really think that is a very, very likely possibility. But, like, if we don't want to bring in this, like, a Meanshao character to bring in and help fighting type, terastallize it to a different type. This is fine, you know? I mean, you could go Terra fucking Psychic. Psychic doesn't really... Psychic could honestly use the help in terms of physical, honestly. So yeah, actually, I like that example. Let's go Terra Fighting, or Terra Psychic Meanshao. Make it Psychic typing, physical damage dealer, and it's actually helping out the physical side of the Psychic typing. Just another example. Again, that's why I think terastallization is going to be so good for this. It's not the direct power buff some characters can get, because they're also going to orient the characters around those power buffs. Like, they did not orient Carmine around having 112 power Machigacha. They oriented her around having 168 power. She's broken because she's broken. She's not broken because of terastallization necessarily. Okay? But yeah, so they're going to be centering these characters around, like, already having the terastallization and effects like that and stuff. So let's at least make it so that they can get a good typing and help out all of these types that need a lot of help. Bug is a massive one. Ghost could use some stuff in a few areas. Like, I believe Physical Ghost is pretty shit, right? Physical Ghost could use some help. It's like Renegade Cynthia's Nuke and Morty's Nuke, I guess. Sure. I don't think Special Fighting is that bad given Bede's existence, and also now we've got... No, you're physical, right? I mean, health, Special Fighting could use the help. Normal in general can use a lot of help. All right, you know, normal would be good for that. Fire, water don't need help. Electric doesn't need help. Rock, I mean, Rock has honestly good characters of both typings, like with Selene and Silver, but it'd be good to have more options of those. Give us another good special option, right, for Rock type. Dark type, I don't really think I think if anything, Dark may struggle a little bit for Gauge. Does N help with Gauge at all? I don't remember. The characters have, yeah, fuel economy. Okay, so he does help with Gauge a little bit. Also Arcari helps out Gauge. So I mean, Dark is not like doing too terribly either. Poison, I think Poison's for the most part is fine. It could use some oomph, right? So there could be some extra help there. But, you know, whatever. Like, again, Special Ground really needs help. That's one. Special Fighting could use a bit of help. Normal as a whole type could use some help. There's some typings that can use help. Dragon could really use another setter. If you want to bring another Charizard in, make it a Terra Dragon Charizard and give it Dragon Zone. That'd be great, just as an example. And that's overall my thoughts on Terastalization. So let's hope the Terastalization is going to be good to help out a lot of types. This is probably why they introduced the Paseo Tower and Terastalization at the same time, is so we can get a bunch more type-related content and a bunch more type-related or type-oriented characters that can help out with that content. That's usually how power creep works in these games. Anyway, that's my overall thoughts on Terastalization. Let me know what you all think about it in the comments below, and I'll see you later. I hope you all enjoyed. Peace.